Okay, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Back today with the Mobile Mailbox Money Mastermind here. Welcome to the Family Bank, where we provide investors a passive investment strategy in first lien manufactured home notes, as well as other assorted opportunities that will be developing as the years progress. I'm Alden Guajardo. I'm president of Silver Crest Opportunity Fund. That's our 506C Reg D accredited investment fund, providing 1-year term at 10% net paid monthly, a 3-year term at 12% net paid quarterly, and an income-oriented investment strategy, cash flowing like Warren Buffett. I've got my partners here and associates. It's Sean, Sonny, and James. Sonny, if you could just introduce yourself for the viewers that don't know you.
I'm Sonny Finkel, and I am the Investor Relations Specialist for Mobile Mailbox Money. I am also the Loan Compliance Coordinator for Win Mobile Homes. So I kind of get a look on the sales that are being done and how they're coming into the note department. I'm happy to help you with due diligence and any questions that you may have.
Got Sean Gibson as well here today. Sean, if you're available, if you could just let people know a little bit about you and how you play a role here at the Family Bank.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Sean Gibson. Super excited to be here, obviously, with Mobile Mailbox Money. I've been with the company about 3 years. I'm not, like I say every time, I'm not only an employee here, but I'm also an investor as well. I invested with notes with Alden and James. So love helping new investors buy notes as well here.
And we've got my partner and my superhero, my father, here today, James Guajardo. James, if you could just give us a light minute.
Yeah, my voice is a little bit out right now, but this James Guajardo, I kind of laugh. President Win Mobile Homes, I'm going to get my voice back together one day soon. So I'm just sitting in the background for today, but thank you.
Normally, I take the time to share this across about 100 different Facebook groups. I'm on a restriction right now. We do a lot of advertising. Got some feedback coming in there. Thanks for your interaction. Got some hearts going. You know, we do widespread marketing for these opportunities to make them publicly available at the end of the day. You know, it's not very often that a business like us putting out this type of product puts it out for free and puts it out online in a guerrilla marketing strategy. So, you know, these notes are available and it's live opportunity that goes down on these Zooms every week at 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Little house cleaning here. We've got on Saturday, on Sunday, we will be giving a creative finance masterclass for about an hour, a high level conversation of how we procure double-digit interest-bearing notes in affordable housing. So we'll be going over, that's Sunday at 9 o'clock. It's actually a 2-day event at the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association Phoenix office. It's like 16th Street and Camelback, I think it is. And that's Saturday and Sunday. You know, we've got a tremendous amount of other people joining us. Here's kind of the flyer actually for the event. You've seen Brandon Simmons actually on our mastermind, and that's this weekend. So if you happen to be in town or live here, you know, would love to see you out at the Azria office. Just to give people a little bit further insight into how we find deals, why it's an opportunity, as well as go through kind of even case subjects of what we deem an opportunity, how we buy it, how we build in a margin, how we underwrite that client. And we'll kind of talk lightly about it today. You know, we're buying stuff anywhere from $8,000 to $50,000 and putting about $15,000 to $40,000 into these homes. And most people aren't doing transactions in manufactured housing. So there's an abundance of inventory like this that fit these benchmarks, with our all-in cost being $40,000 to $75,000 in the Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, Glendale, Apache Junction market. seller financing these homes and making a margin. So we're probably netting about 20 to 30% on every transaction as we button them up in a bow of capital investment to get a investor such as yourself sitting here today to purchase the cash flowing position for its double-digit interest. How we talk to and procure this type of inventory, our institutional relationships with park managers, as well as other local dealers. We used to do a lot of direct mail marketing, but actually now we're elevated in the corporate contact tree of a few institutions that own really hundreds of mobile home parks across the nation, not only here in the Arizona market, but also in other markets as well. We've been asked to go other markets, but really we could do 10 times the business that we're currently doing just in our desired zip codes without ever having to leave our state. Interest rates are higher on manufactured housing in comparison to residential property. Why is that? It's because it's an alternative asset and it's not so much readily available as far as financing private credit towards manufactured housing. And that's where the rubber meets the road of us being here today on the Mastermind is we package these homes up at the end of the day with minimum down payments. They go through RMLO required origination. We package them with third-party contract servicing and ultimately either go through a title company or use our license bonded and insured license to transfer homes and titles under a $50,000 benchmark. So that's just a light look at what it looks like, how we buy homes, where we buy homes in the Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, Glendale market. It's a move to market, little natural disaster risk, no problems with insuring these homes. Every note is required to be insured. All super important factors to understand as we debut some of these notes that we have available. We do all of this work in order to be afforded the blessing of passive cash flow in a note investment strategy, as we don't buy other people's notes. We've done so before, but our main business is originating these transactions so we can now become the bank. And why is that a favorable transaction opposed to owning rentals? Well, if you've owned more than 5-10 rentals, you understand the ongoing expense of taxes and insurance, maintenance. You have the potential vacancy risk. The tenants could call you at 2:00 in the morning to fix a toilet. And if you're not taking those calls, someone is, and you're paying for that as a management component. In notes, obviously that comes with its pros and cons. The pros are none of those complications in operating a long-term real estate investment strategy, like no maintenance, management, insurance, or taxes, and you own that position for less than what it would bear out on the available market. Multiple options within these transactions for individual to participate that might be sitting here today. We don't so much do fractional participation, but a modified program of a fractional participation is via hypothecation. Hypothecation means to pledge an asset in order to garnish capital investment. We can pledge one note with one investor at the unpaid balance and pledge that home for a 1-year term at a double-digit interest rate for someone that may not want to buy a whole note, right? They may not be a quote-unquote seasoned note investor, and they want really more liquidity opposed to owning a 20-year position. You could buy that whole note for 20 years for the full yield, or you hitch your cart to a qualified operator via hypothecation if you're non-accredited and cash flow with one note, one investor, and you make your double-digit yield with a 1-year maturity date on your contract. Or if accredited, you could invest in the fund. Obviously, that's a pooled performing note, institutional grade platform. So that's just a quick look at what it looks like, what we'll be going into on Sunday. I'll be there at 9:00. It is a 2-day event at Azria. So let's just kind of get into it. We're here for deal flow. We're here to ultimately invest possibly in a cash flowing position. And I wanted to show you that because that gives you a little bit of context of how we come across these assets at the end of the day. You know, we're not just a lender. We're the largest dealer of manufactured housing in Arizona, Win Mobile Homes, licensed, bonded, and insured. So gives a little bit of context. We've got, this is Desert Dawn. Desert Dawn is a land and manufactured home that we're actually looking for a individual to participate at 75% loan to value at $160,000 for a 1-year term at $1,333 a month. Let's see if I can get these pictures to work for me. This 3-1's currently rented already. Win Mobile Homes owns the property. We have a 5-year lease agreement in place. They're paying $2,500 a month. So really for 75% loan to value at 160 is $1,333 a month. You're making half of that monthly payment. We still have ample cash flow to be able to service this transaction. And it's been rehabbed. We didn't just buy it and rent it out. You know, we actually went through and made sure all of these items were fixed. You know, important to understand, you know, that's the little shed area. You've got another bedroom here. I think this is a 3-bed, 1-bath that we rehabbed. You can see kind of some during rehab photos here, but we've got the washer, dryer, the fridge, you know, currently rented, 5-year lease. These individuals really wanted to buy this property, but that's kind of the deal. Desert Dawn, I forget the address. James, do you have the address on this by chance on Desert Dawn?
I can look it up real quick. 1 second.
We'll put that out in a second, but this
937 South 91st Place in Mesa.
Why don't you put that in the chat if you could, Sonny, for people that may want to kind of Google around while we're talking here today, because that's a live deal. You know, we need to refinance this property, refinance the first. You'll get a first lien position. We have about 60 days left to conduct this transaction. But at a first lien position, you know, sitting healthy with a performing renter in the Mesa market. So that's a great one to talk about. Another potential short-term lending component opposed to a full seller finance note transaction. Lot 205 here off major cross streets of, it's like 59th Ave in Missouri, that West Valley. That's not the exact cross streets, but you can Google Grand Missouri Mobile Home Park. They actually just recently changed hands as far as the ownership of this park, but we're already entrenched in the environment. This 3-2 was a 2-bed, 2-bath. This has been actually never been lived in. It's brand new, straight off the lot. They sold it to us at a discount currently in its lot location, and we turned a 2-bed, 2-bath into a 3-2 year 2023 double wide in the family community. Family Mobile Home Park is the highest desirability and request for individuals that want affordable housing. You know, most communities here in the valley are 55 and older, but this property happens to be located in a family park. So you can kind of see as we... Oh, someone kind of chirped up there. Sorry about that.
Beautiful kitchen is what I said.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, you know, brand new. Most of the times we're dealing with a lot of used inventory, you know, because there's not that much brand new stuff out on the market at the end of the day. So quite refreshing for us to be in a brand new inventory. This current home, we are looking for a first lien position. Call it a 1-year term, more of a private lending component where we will borrow at less than, I think, 75% loan to value. This is currently benchmarked now to refi out $81,500. It's listed for $109,000. I believe. We just actually took a small reduction of this property as we usher it forward for an end user to buy at $81,500. It affords a first lien position and a monthly payment of $679.17 interest only. And the other Desert Dawn is an interest only payment as well. So these are the two interest only short-term potential annualized contracts that ultimately will bear a double-digit interest rate and afford you a monthly payment. At $679 a month for $81,500, you could participate in this transaction and actually get a first right of refusal of the note that may inadvertently come available on this property. I'm getting some hearts in the chat. Appreciate your interaction. The first lien position at 81.5, say we sell it at 109, they put 9,000 down. The unpaid balance is 100. From 81.5, you would come up from the balance of the construction loan to the $100,000 unpaid balance projected, right? Which is about 18.5. So at 100,000, just call the unpaid balance, right? 100,000. That note that will likely come available, because most people need financing, is $1,243 a month. So you went from $679, you doubled your cash flow, taking a first right of refusal. That's $1,243.52 a month for a 20-year term on a $100,000 unpaid balance. We got a 10% down payment, close to. They'll have $2,000 in prepaid taxes and insurance on every transaction. So ample skin in the game, and we make $12,000 to $14,000 a year in passive cash flow on a brand new double wide manufactured home. So that's currently immediately available. That is a brand new home. Desert Dawn's immediately available. Strong cash flow, both great opportunities in desired upon markets. Now we're getting into a little bit more of our seller finance note structures. So opposed to say a 1-year term, short term, private lending potential component. This is a packaged seller finance note where the buyer borrower went through underwriting and they're currently pending sale and approved, I believe. Sonny, are you doing the transaction coordinating of lot 348 here?
I am not, and it's a new decision.
So lot 348 is in Brentwood West. This is in a 55 and older community. Lot 348 is, I believe, a 2-bed, 2-bath, but you got that large built-out Arizona room. We went completely through this property. Brand new cabinets, granite counters, new laminate flooring actually for this property. It's all waterproof that we get. Kind of try to do the same thing on every house. As far as the electrical, the plumbing, the roof, we go through and service all of those in order to hedge our bet for the long-term note position. Because if we do take this property back, which happens, if you do enough transactions, we want to make sure that we're risk mitigated. And ultimately, if there is additional profit to be made upon repossession or mitigating capital being lost or even breaking even, we want to make sure that it's still a strong product. And that's why we do those, ultimately, call it like a 50-item checklist to go through and make sure and service all structural and utilities, and things of that nature. So tile showers, you've got brand new vanities. Each home, really, most of them have a big storage shed for these end users. And this home's actually ground set. If you don't know Brentwood West is a gated 55 and older community with grass walking areas, water fountains. They got pickleball courts, pools, jacuzzis, the whole 9 yards. Whereas most people think of a mobile home park, thinking of dirt roads, things of that nature. This is a close to a condominium style environment, but they're really getting more square footage in most cases. Lot 348 currently pending.
The offer on this was just signed this morning, so this is brand new inventory.
So
they're putting $8,000 down.
So, strong down payment, right? They'll still have another 2,000 in taxes and insurance. At 93.5, these are estimated balances, just to preface, they'll be either that number or close to it. We got some chats going, hearts going in the chat. At $93,500 with a monthly payment of $1,163.41 for a 20-year term, this note will come available likely, possibly early next week. You got your quality collateral, you got a double underwritten, deserving borrower with ample skin in the game. This is a gem. My partner James met another individual that was, I think, flipped 2 properties in the same park. He did much higher finishes, but most people don't know some mobile homes sell for $250,000. That dude sold a manufactured home that he bought, rehabbed, and actually exited at, like, I think it was 220 in the same park, probably with the same square footage, but he put much higher tech and stuff into the property. So great appraised value for this transaction. Does anyone have any questions? We went over quickly some short-term private lending components, low loan to value, actually borrowing against my assets when mobile homes. We've got this note that you could parlay your relationship with. Say you're a relationship individual and you're driven to raise private capital. You could buy this note, pledge it via hypothecation, which is what I do, and raise their capital using other people's money, give them collateral, right? So it's actually a legal transaction. You hypothecate the note with their entity, put it on the first lien, or you could pledge your lien position, both potential areas of opportunity. I talk to a couple people frequently that are looking to try and arbitrage their relationships, and that's just one case-specific example. Any questions in the chat? Don't hesitate to send those out. Sonny, if you do get a question that's worthy of talking about quickly, please bring that up. So we'll continue on here. La Montana Del Sur, again, we're in our full seller finance note potential. 2 options for every one of the, actually 3 options for every one of these. You could buy the whole note, make the full yield for the full 20-year term and pledge that against a garnished capital investment, or just own it in your personal portfolio, own it in an IRA, solo 401k, or you could lend to us, acquiring a hypothecated position for a 1-year term at a double-digit interest rate still, and get 19 years of liquidity opposed to owning a 20-year position, or we absorb this in the fund. So this is lot 129.
I am processing this one, and this is a really good one for a really solid borrower. She did just get approved by Dodd-Frank today. She's putting $3,000 down, and she is excited to move in.
Putting a decent down payment and taxes and insurance. How much are prepaid taxes and insurance? It's like $2,000 a month, $2,000, correct?
It's actually $987.06.
Plus closing fees. So I
Plus
think
closing fees is another $1,800.
Yeah, so she's got close to $6,000 she'll put out of pocket. What's her total monthly payment? Do you know her total monthly payment?
Her PITI is $1,300.48, and her lot rent is $811.66. So for around $2,000 or $2,100, she's getting a beautiful home, a 3.2 that she was paying more than that for a 2-bedroom apartment.
There's where the rubber meets the road. What did you just say?
I said that her payments are going to be around $2,000 with lot rent, and she was paying $2,200 or $2,300, I think, for a 2-bedroom apartment. Now she's going to own a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1998 Cavco for less money.
So I think I made an error on this monthly payment. Sonny, what's the unpaid balance? What's the monthly payment, and how many years is that for?
Okay, the sale was $99,500. She put $3,000 down. The loan amount is $96,500. The insurance is $987.06. The taxes is $218.64. The lot rent is $811.66. So the payment is $1,200, and the PITI is $1,300.
So I have it, I think at like $1199.98, $1,199.98 for 20 years. If you have a mortgage calculator, why am I prefacing so much on what the exact payment is and how much the term is and what's the unpaid balance? Because in most cases, it's a violation to quote interest rates unless specifically talking about a Reg D accredited offering. This is a way for you to reverse engineer if you own a mortgage calculator or you have a mortgage calculator application to reverse engineer what a yield would look like on an acquisition just like this. So that's lot 129. You know, we went through 96.5, 93.5, 81.5, and 160. That's about, you know, close to $300,000 in transactions. And we got more. Let's talk about this last one. So most of these are going to be at or around 100,000. This next one, sorry, I'm just reorienting my screen here. Lot 11. Lot 11 is a banger. I actually acquired this home on my blog. I walked through the house, dealt with the occupants who were taking advantage of their elderly grandmother, probably not paying a dime to be in the house. She was forced to sell the house because they weren't paying to be there. She went and bought another house and ultimately sold this home to us for, I think it was $1,000. That's vlog 136 on YouTube. If you don't follow us on social media, you know, and you have further curiosity at the end of the day, that's where you get it. The cure for curiosity, as we walk through these homes, literally do deals live as we do here today. But that's a little bit more intimate about the acquisition and how this property came about. We got some hearts going off in the chat. You know, we do this all for transparency. At the end of the day, most people are trying to hide what they're doing because they're replaceable. These are literally wide open doors of opportunity for you to see into how we do what we do, why it's an opportunity, and how we've done over $30 million in transactions on manufactured homes here in the local Arizona market. That's buying them, selling them on paper, having a licensed mortgage officer originate the note, having third-party contract servicing, third-party underwriting, and ultimately raising the capital to do that transaction. We're not just the lender. This is lot 11, super gem. It is a 3-2 in a 55 and older park off major cross streets of Ellsworth and Broadway in a community by the name of Sunny Crest. Sunny Crest Mobile Home Park, we've done probably 20 transactions in that one community. That's upwards of $1 million in those homes. I think we had one home actually go non-performing in that park, but strong demand, strong performance in this community. Why? Well, it is a 55 and older park. Most people are on a fixed income, guaranteed income, disability, you know, Social Security, pension, all the above. At $46,000 for a 20-year term, this monthly payment is $572.01. So Sunny, and had multiple people, I think, asking more about the more affordable note transactions. They go very quickly. Lot 134, 124, and a few others that were under this $50,000 benchmark have recently been absorbed into the fund. And I bring that up because this is an available opportunity for people to get started with as low as potentially under $50,000. Very rare to find a cash flowing position at that, as well as the highest yield probably in comparable real estate investment strategies. And at the end of the day, if you were to potentially lose capital, you know, there's risk in investment. It's a $50,000 position. It's not a $250,000 house. It's not a $500,000 house. You know, average single family property in the nation is $350,000 to $400,000. You know, most people kind of shy away from these transactions. Why? Because of the niche market manufactured housing. They shy away because they don't ask the right questions. They possibly don't care to take the time to understand, or, you know, they're in a higher income generating possibility, but the likelihood of that at these yields with lowest risk investment strategy outside of mutual funds or buying a T-bill, just kind of rattling off a couple of things there. Does anyone have any questions today?
I do.
Let's hear about it.
I had an investor ask me today, and it reminded me of a question that I get asked a lot. And what is the difference between, to the investor, buying a note that's in a 55 and up community or buying a note that's in an all age community? And there are different pluses for each different scenario. And I just wondered if anybody else has that question, or if you'd like to talk about what those differences are.
So, each have their pros and cons at the end of the day. In my recent experience, most of the individuals are going to be looking for a family park. They either have 3 people, the person that is looking for the house is over 55, but they got 2 kids. They're really priced out of rentals. Rentals, like you were saying on La Montana, they're paying $2,300 a month. So for them to have multiple income generating rooms, or kids that are working, in other words, that's a super benefit in that accord. And it's the majority of the market at the end of the day. You do have to be a little bit more careful on the underwriting, what is their job? How much are they making combined? Is there a ghost borrower in the house? Those are all areas to potentially make sure that they're risk mitigated. But that's kind of case specific on family parks. Most parks are 55 and older here in the Valley. Would you agree, Sonny?
They are. And I feel like that is a bigger benefit. And this is why it's good to talk about it, because everybody has a different opinion no matter who you ask. I think that the 55 and up communities are typically nicer communities. They're have more amenities, and they're cleaner and nicer. And then when you deal with people that are 55 and up, usually they're on a fixed income. Their lives are more stable. They're not going through any, life crisis or anything like that sometimes younger families go through. So you have a little bit more potential for stability if you have someone who is of that older age and they're not, having to put braces on their kid and stuff like that. The benefit to the all age community, like you said, is that you have a wider range of people that you can sell to, but then you have a little bit more risk as far as the stability of a potentially young family.
Guaranteed income in most cases. They're on Social Security, they're on a pension. There's 2 people on Social Security, a husband and a wife. The only downfall in 55 and older is they do have a minimum age restriction. So that minimum age is normally like 45, I think it is. So that creates some, potential challenge at any given time when we exit that property. We're specifically marketing, obviously, to a new retiree or someone just looking for a lifestyle change at the end of the day, and they're paying already $1,500 to $2,000 a month in rent, depending on where they're at. So that's a great thing to talk about. Anyone else have any, tips, tricks, and topics? Sonny, what are some other questions that people are asking as we finish out this meeting today?
The other one that I get the most of is, what is the difference in the benefit between a construction note and 100% assignment note? And I think we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. The benefit to a construction note is that it is a 1-year term, so you can potentially be more liquid than if you decide to make a change after a year or so. The other benefit to a construction note is that Win is your borrower, and we guarantee the payments, so you don't have the risk that's associated with a borrower. And the benefits to the shorter term note, the construction notes, is usually that there are lower amounts. So you could get in usually for $50,000 or less.
Yeah, so most of those mature within 3 to 6 months. And what does that mean? That means we've found a buyer for the house. So they get some kind of churn. They get maybe 2-3 times throughout the year. They're getting potential maturity. Oh, I'm going to transfer this it's sold, that home sold, it's 40,000. I get to now make a decision of if I want my capital back or let's redeploy it in this other potential projected asset. So there's some jockey back and forth throughout the year, whereas that doesn't hit for everybody at the end of the day. Some people want a stabilized asset, right? But they're still wanting less than a 20-year term. How does that kind of fit in, Sonny?
Well, if you buy a note that's 20 years, I mean, you still have a marketable asset. If you don't want to stay in it the 20 years, you can always resell it. So you're not necessarily tied into 20 years just because that's the note term.
So these could be sold on the secondary market. We've built our platform, Mobile Mailbox Money, in order to sell notes within this asset class. But if they don't want to own that whole note, that's the hypothecation model. That's a stabilized transaction opposed to a construction loan, right? That you're having to be available to sign lien releases and actually be, answering your phone. Not everyone wants to do that. Completely understandable. Hopefully I'll get there one day, not have to answer my phone all the time. But some people want that stability of a position on a performing asset. They don't want to take the responsibility of owning a 20-year note, have to work their relationships. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a dentist, I'm a whoever, got high income generating revenue in my W-2 main job that takes my time. That's a 1-year hypothecation model where we take these notes that I went through today, right? And I take that same note and I pledge it in order to garnish capital investment, which means you get a collateralized lending opportunity into one note, one investor, and we cash flow together. I borrow against my asset, almost like a private lending component. So we got a question in the chat. Oh, whoops, just disappeared here. Hi, Alden. Do you typically open opportunities for building notes? We may have an approval coming soon, as the goal is to invest around 5 to 10 million. So building notes, you may have to elaborate a little bit if you don't mind in there. We've had some great, interaction today, actually, with your thumbs up, your hearts, all of that's greatly appreciated. A lot of opportunity that we come across, little left field of our primary strategy. We're actually starting a 12 home group co-living strategy in the Tempe market. If you follow Pace Morby, who's a subject to advocate and co-living advocate, that's a big, huge need in affordable housing, right? The need is to cure and provide a solution while making a healthy return in affordable housing. And that's co-living. Co-living is rentals by the room. There's a platform called Pad Split that we will be utilizing for the platform. So they'll do all the leasing, they'll control scheduling and things of that nature. I'm more than sure that there'll be an element of some managing of that asset. But we bought a 5-bedroom, 2-bath with 2 additional units in the back for like 600,000. We'll have about another 300,000 or 400,000 into the rehab and offer that as a midterm rental strategy on a single family home right here in the Tempe market. My objective is to do 50 to 100 of those. So for these larger level equations, 5, 10 million bucks, that may not hit for the people that we're communicating with at the end of the day, because it is potentially a personal property asset. Not everyone knows how to communicate how stable that actual asset class is. And they are really looking for, a potential alternative in the asset of affordable housing. That's a larger level program that we're currently developing that will likely at say 80% occupancy yield us about $9,000 a month, which is close to $100,000 a year on a $900,000 purchase and rehab, right? So our net operating income will on that be very healthy. The objective is to parlay larger capital and raise an equity and debt strategy on those co-living opportunities. So wide
The
plethora.
exciting part about that one is that it's right across the street from the tram stop for public transportation, and it's one stop away from Arizona University.
So, I'm so excited for 2026. This is our biggest year ever. I can feel it, in it. How does that come to fruition at the end of the day? That comes from relationships, notoriety, branding, and ultimately doing business with the people like, and trust. And we've built the trust, we've built the brand. We're now main corporate sponsors of Arizona Real Estate Investors Association, Silvercrest. We've been in the largest business network international group. I think we do the biggest numbers collectively. The connectors, we meet every Wednesday at Orange Tree Golf Course at 11:15 every Wednesday. I've received about $3 million in transactions from that one group in the past 3 years. So they're the largest referral network marketing group in the world. So we're not just in the sidelines at the end of the day. Not only that, but also our online, brand has reached close to 1,000 videos on YouTube. And we do this weekly, like I said, to provide further trust, transparency. Got another comment here. Thank you, Alden. We will reach out very soon. Listen, there's real opportunity here at the end of the day. These are live transactions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 investors here. I think I've met 2 of you. So, at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. So y'all have my personal information. I'm going to put it in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me direct. We're looking for capital. I've got a few note transactions that I've gone through, I think numbering 5 that we sold in the past 2 weeks. So, it's time is of the essence. These lower transactions like lot 11, that's a super gem. We've got larger down payments on a few others. We've got risk mitigated, ultimately private lending components. If you have capital in your IRA, solo 401k, your money market account, really on the sidelines, yielding less than 8%, that's a losing situation. You're losing to inflation in the want for security. People do that to feel safe. This provides the same element of safety in the market in a performing asset, the highest in the capital stack, with likely one of the highest 30-day yields achieved in the nation. There's no other place to do it in this asset class. I talked about Warren Buffett's investment strategies in Clayton, Cavco, and 21st Mortgage. I won't bore you with how my great-great-grandfather is probably one of the biggest in investments, but also in manufactured housing, and he's clearly not selling those positions. So if you're not going to take it from me, $30 million in transactions, over 350 seller finance notes, 2% default rate. Take it from Warren Buffett at the end of the day. Thank you for your interaction here today. We're going to call it short. That these combined balances, just to put this last thought in your head, our portfolio snapshot of what we literally just talked about. Total loan balances are $477,500. Total monthly payments are $4,900 a month. We're on track to create over $1 million in passive cash flow this year alone in stabilized positions. I don't know many other people doing that. Appreciate you being here today. We'll leave you at that. Call now at 602-888-2274 to speak to an immediate sales associate. If you haven't and you're curious about the homes that we have for sale, that's winmobilehomes.com, license 8670. If you want to buy notes, our note sale website is going back live, I think, this evening. We've been having some problems with that as we update mobilemailboxmoney.com. That's note education, live video walkthroughs, client testimonials, or you can invest today and start cash flowing and earning interest in Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. That's one step closer to financial freedom. We call that mobile mailbox money. Thanks for being here today. Please reach out. We're wire ready. That's how you do it, people. Thanks for watching. See you next time.